Hey guys, Manus here one more time. This time, instead of bringing you one set of loadouts, I wanted to bring you some of the loadouts I like using. I have pretty much a combat, a farming Outlander set up. I have a constructor set up for combat and a constructor set up for defense. Defense meaning jail builds, something like that, where you're trying not to kill husk. You are relying on the mechanics where if you don't kill the initial husk, you don't get any more husk spans. So, you know, I do have that in there as well. This game is very open to the point that you can pretty much do whatever you want when you're playing the game. You don't have to play in a specific way. The builds I have are not specific for everybody. They are what I like using. They are something that you can twitch on your own if you want. You can tweak them around and get the outcomes that you want. For me, I've been playing this game for a while, and I like to be a lazy gamer sometimes. And then I have my builds for what I like to consider easy gaming, even in high level missions. I want to start by showing you the Outlander farming that I have equipped, mostly because farming is a big aspect of this game. If you don't know how to farm or don't have a proper farming build, you are unable to, you know, get the materials that you need in terms of trap materials and gun materials and stuff like that. If you have a farmer hero, you're able to collect all the materials you need. If you know where to farm it at, that's something that we can talk about as well. But for now, let me just show you, the builds I have that I enjoy using in this game. And I'll start with the Outlanders for combat. Then I'll go into the Constructors that I use for defense and attack. Then I'll go into the Soldier and the Ninja that I enjoy actually running in missions. And we'll talk a little bit about experimental stuff and why this game has so many options that it makes it a little bit hard to like really pinpoint to what you want out of the game. And there's a lot of little tweaks you can do around there, and it can really throw you off a little bit if you're starting and you're trying to decide what heroes you want to get. So hopefully this helps you, assemble a team for whatever purposes you want to start with, and then later on as you branch out into more heroes, which they're starting to open up to everybody, you can start messing around with it and have fun with it. This is an open world game where it's never ending. You always have to collect resources to level up everything. I'm always out of resources. That's why I don't have that many 130s, or that's why I still have 34s and 82s. This game takes a long time to just be able to manage the resources to level up everything. So hopefully this guide helps you narrow down on what you need to get at first, and then as you develop more your own gaming style of this game and what you want to collect, what you want to farm for, and how you like to run the missions. Then let's start with Constructors, and I want to talk about Base Kyle. He's a constructor I use for storm shield defenses missions where I'm going in to eliminate zombies in trap tunnels. He is basically my trap tunnel king that I like to rely on when I'm doing a mission, and this is why. Base Kyle gets 84% health to the buildings whenever the base is active, meaning that your walls will sustain almost twice the amount of damage they could sustain at first, making them practically indestructible. Making those propane explosions a little hard to destroy your walls if your walls are properly healed. I like using recycling because most missions that rely on combat are long combat missions, like Defend the Atlas missions. Those are 7 minutes, 8 minute fights, and if you're staying behind your trap tunnel because your traps are able to handle the damage, then you can be collecting recycling materials while you're running around healing your trap, healing your walls, and making sure everything is good. Power modulation, or power based penny, she gives me a healing effect to the walls, 4%. For her, you can change her, be it Base Kyle and power base penny, power base Kyle, power base Nox. I like keeping him here because he gives me more building health. If I have him in my team, he only gives me 28%. For her, she gives me 11% health, healing to the walls. Again, I rely more on his health than her healing, so I like using him as a main. You can switch him around. Then I use Heavy Base Kyle. He basically every 30 kills inside of your trap tunnel creates an explosion that goes 3 tiles out from the base, and it basically kills people. There's 39 base energy damage. You could equip Ghoulish Cackle here and get an additional energy damage for him if you wanted to, but I don't see the point because I like using Thunder Thor for electrical force. She's doing 12.7 base damage to the husk walking on it. Then I like to use the Ice King because it gives me 15% snare to the husk walking on the traps. And then I like to use Electropulse Penny here because she gives me the 15 damage to people attacking my wall. So there's husk on the outside trying to create their own doorway through my trap tunnels, trying to avoid my traps. She basically takes care of them. She makes sure that those husks don't destroy the wall if they're within the base area of defense. Throwing a trap out that heals your wall or does damage to husk, it's an additional help to help prevent those walls coming down, especially from smashers. I like using Banner here because it gives me more health to my building, and it also allows me to respawn closer to where the battle is at. And Slow Field in case there's too many husks that make a hole in the wall and I have to recreate my trap tunnel. I have to go heal something. This gives me a little more of a chance to actually get stuff done. Sometimes having too many husks around will kill me, especially with the Constructor. They don't have that much, resistance when it comes to being surrounded. Mobility, they don't have that much as well. Okay guys, now let's talk about the second Constructor I like to use. This Constructor, I like to use them for missions like jail builds. Jail builds can be used anywhere, pretty much. You can use them in Retrieve the Data, you can use them in Ride the Lightning, you can use them in Evacuate the Shelter, Repair the Shelters. I've used them in those. They're a little tricky to use on those, not really, but you end up using a little more materials and the storm changes around directions. It seems that they keep spawning. Honestly, I don't use jail builds that often, but they do make for a nice easy game when you're playing Retrieve the Data. They work on pretty much any level, and it's awesome that they do stall. So let's talk about it for a second. The Ice King allows me to have 4-second freeze on every husk every 15 seconds. It also snares them for 15%, so it slows down their movement. He is awesome for slowing down and holding back enemies. I like using him with recycling base so I can get some material back while I wait for the mission to be over. I like to use Power Base Penny here because she heals my buildings for 4% every 10 seconds. And Base Kyle here because he gives me an extra 28% health to my buildings, so it makes my buildings have more health and they can heal more every 10 seconds. I also have Machinist Harper because she gives me the trap durability by 17.5%. This is incredible for making the traps last longer in those jail builds, so you don't have to keep going in there and build it. You could also change this for the one that makes the traps last longer, supercharged traps. I go back and forth. It doesn't really matter that much. I can throw in more traps in there, or I can just use the perk. It's interchangeable. Again, this game lets you do whatever you want, like I said before, I have Warden here because he heals my allies for 3.75 base health every 1 second. You could have something else here. There's really not that many perks to slow down and not kill husk with the Constructors, so I just use stuff, that gives me some health back in case somebody's getting shot. I also have this one to extend my duration by 5.5 seconds in case they do, the traps inside of the jail build run out. I throw in my decoy and I can repair the walls. I can put traps on it again if I need them and not worry about, if there's a baseball player in the trap or some of the husker that can attack me from in there. This one will slow them down enough for the walls to actually be able to heal if they need to be healed. If a wall was destroyed, Deco keeps them off long enough for the traps to, for the wall to be placed back into it and healed and maybe upgraded once before it starts taking damage. Upgrading the walls before they take damage is a big deal, especially when you're trying to put a wall down. If a wall doesn't have enough health and it gets attacked too much, it will get destroyed. On the other hand, if it has enough time to heal completely and be upgraded, then it has more of a hump to resist those attacks. I like using Slow Fuel, again, in combination with Decoy to be able to put those walls up, the traps, be able to do what I need to do. And then Banner, of course, it's one of those things that lets you put it down next to your building. It not only keeps your building healed, gives it extra health. It also, if you die, it allows you to respawn right there in the construction zone where the base is holding out, so you don't have to run all the way to it. That's one of the things I do find myself with Constructors. When I get into combat, they do tend to die a little more just because they don't have as much mobility as let's say a Ninja or an Outlander. Soldiers have a little more resistance, so they take a little more of a beat up before they die. Constructors, though, you really got to keep your distance between you and the husk. If you get surrounded by husk, you're pretty much done with Constructors for the most part. But yeah, Okay, let's talk soldiers. Everybody likes using soldiers. I like using soldiers sometimes. Honestly, when I'm playing, I'll rather use an Outlander because of the farming abilities, and we'll touch that in a little bit. But when I do use Soldier, I like to use the Swamp Knight. Reason being is because he's a little OP. He gets a boosted damage against this monster based on your health that is missing. In addition, you know, the damage does the Conjure Phantasm, 45% chance. So every other hit or so, you get a Phantasm going around, flying, destroying enemies. It basically deals 62% base damage. It's a half a tile explosion. And every 1.5 seconds, it cools down so that you can cast another Phantasm. Now the way I like using them is to clear out encampments. I can go into any level encampment mission up to 132, 140, and then this guy has no problem cleaning them out. I like to soup him up with Trick and Treat. Basically, he gives me an extra Phantasm, 50% chance to conjure a second one when you conjure the first one. And it also has life leech, so whenever your life starts to get down, those Phantasms start to give you back. Just stay away from bees and blasters. They do hurt a lot, and they have plenty of distance between you and them, so the damage hurts. I like to power his ability damage by Willow, Ghoulish Cackle. She gives me an extra 37.5% based on my health missing. Again, it plays with this missing health perk right here. It also gives me that extra ability damage, so I get to do more damage with those Phantasms that I'm not even doing anything with. They're self-attacking, Teddy-like soldier ability. I like to use Space Technology as Celia Clark because she gives me a boost in my ability energy damage. Then I like to use Merman Ken because, you know, he gives me an extra melee damage based on my missing health. So with this guy, I do like to run melee. I like to be in the middle of combat and just let the zombies hit me as much as they can while I'm hitting them. That tends to work pretty well, especially on encampments, like I said before. Plasma Arc does that sap damage, 20% sap, and to enemies nearby, 58% of damage dealt. So when my Phantasm goes off and it kills a zombie, it has a 20% chance to kind of explode and hurt enemies around it even more for 50% damage. So, you know, it's doing extra damage on top of the damage. And then I have Intergalactic Ken right here, I believe his name is, and he has Energy Siphon. Every single time I kill with my energy damage, which is my Phantasms, I get some of my shields back. The only thing that would make this soldier better, to be honest with you, is if we had an 8th perk slot, and that 8th perk slot was something like automatic cooldown of Phantasms if, you know, if your shields get broken. This guy's giving you shields back, so your shields can be broken every single time they hit you. So, you know, it makes it for an endless loop. But, you know, we do have this amazing soldier that he can pretty much clear whatever you get into. Just stay away from bees and blasters. Stationary hovers do a great job, and slow fields is amazing. Okay, guys. Now let's touch a little basis on ninjas. I don't use all the ninjas in this game. I've been playing functionally up to now. I haven't really been having too much fun with the game, I guess you can say. But let's just say ninjas here. I like using ninjas for we build the radar missions because they have mobility. They can do double jump, so they can build those towers faster. They have Dragon Flash to take care of the husk coming my way, so I can worry about the tower more than anything else. If it's not a ninja for build the radar, it's an Outlander just because of mobility and teddies. I don't use constructors or soldiers for doing build the radar missions that often because they don't have as good mobility. Anyways, I like using Dragon Scorch here because he gives me that Dragon Slash range, 3 tiles long and 2 tiles wide. He's able to go through walls. His damage goes through walls. If you go through a trap tunnel, it will hurt zombies on the outside of the trap tunnel as well. He also gets that extra damage. So this guy is one of the best to main as your hero for Dragon Slash. I like to power him up with Endless Shadow, which gives me that shadow stance duration by 4 seconds per every ninja. I have 5 ninjas, so that's 20 seconds extra plus the 4 seconds from here. You know, you're getting 24 seconds of shadow. Then I like to power him up with Corrupted Aura here, and for this is gonna be Cloak Shadow. Basically, he gives me an extra 6 base damage per second to nearby enemies while I'm in shadow stance. I can kill little husk while I'm focusing on the bigger ones. Legendary Blade with the mythic hero Ken, Swordmaster Ken, gives me an extra 25% damage with my swords. Again, while you're in Corrupted Aura, you're doing more damage with your swords, and now you're doing even more because you have the soldier right here boosting the power up. Then I like to use Cuddle Specialist Sarah because she gives me that Trail of Energy, 26 base damage per second for zombies that are following me. I like to do this on Husk that, you know, especially on Smashers that they have to turn around, they take forever turning around. Husks that take a long time walking if they're going to follow you, because this trail right here can kill them while they're just trying to follow you. I like to use Saurian Claws here because she gives me an additional 3% current health to melee weapon damage. That is, that can be a big difference when you're trying to slice everything open. And I like to use, what's his name? Hybrid. He basically gives me the affliction duration for that Trail of Dragon here to last longer so that Husk have more time to die. And then I like to power him up with Slow Feel and Adrenaline Rush. Slow Feel primarily because I can equip my sword and start slashing everything around me while they're getting killed with the Endless Shadow. And then I like to use Adrenaline Rush in case they do get my health down. There are the power-ups here that I could substitute, like instead of Saurian Claws, I could put in something that heals me while I'm in Shadow, well not Shadow Stance, but Smoke Bomb or Survivalist, something like that if I needed it. But I never seem to get in a pickle where I need more bases on Outlanders for combat. I enjoy using Fragment Flurry Jess, primarily because every 13 kills of Husk I get a Chargeman blue fragment for my Teddy and Shock Towers to be spawned sooner. I equip Slow Your Rolls in case Husk attack me, they freeze in spot for about 2 seconds, and yeah, 2 seconds, and that way I get a chance to run away. I like using Survivalist so I can get 39 base health. There's a lot of choices for health regaining troops. Right now I have Survivalist Jonesy being the one leveled up for combat, so I use him. I also like using Saurian Might because he gives me that extra attack for my range weapons so I can do more damage. I also like to use this Outlander right here. He's a 4th of July hero, Old Glory AC, and basically what he allows me to do is to be able to cast down Teddies and Shock Towers faster if I have blue fragments, and of course with this hero right here I'm generating blue fragments every 13 kills. I also like to power my Shock Towers with Affliction damage, 50%, and this is one of the Old Town heroes. Wild Fragment Deadeye. They're coming back around the corner, by the way. Just be patient if you don't have them. And then I like to power up my Teddy with this girl right here, which is Trailblazer Quinn, and that way I can do more damage with Teddy. I like to use Stationary Hovers and Adrenaline Rush, and if you notice here, they're pretty much the same thing. The only difference is that with this guy, I focus more on my ability damage. I focus more on Teddy damage, more ability damage, and a little Shock Tower damage. The reason, they're both for combat, they're both amazing in my opinion for using. This one's a little better just because of the fragment. This one does a little more damage, so they're very comparable, and they're my two favorite Outlanders for combat. The best abilities are Shock Tower and Teddy for Outlanders, of course, because they're automatic shooting kill on their own. You don't have to worry about aiming, so Outlanders are new friendlies. There's a lot of variations, but these two combat Outlanders are on my favorite list of using. If you ever see me using a combat Outlander, I'll probably be running one or the other. As far as Outlanders go, when it comes to farming, I do have a very specific build that I enjoy using just because it gives me the most amount of materials in the shortest amount of possible of time, and that one's the last one on the list here. I'll be showing you right now. Okay guys, well, being able to build efficient trap tunnels and be able to defend your buildings and attack encampments and build raiders and do all those missions, a big aspect of this game comes in the form of farming. Now, if any of you farm with the soldier, a ninja, or a constructor, you know how annoying that can be. So this is what I consider to be one of the best farmers in my opinion for my purposes, how I play my game. You can twitch it around if you want. There's other heroes, and I can form different farming heroes if you want, but this is how I consider it to be one of the better ones. I like to use Fossil Southie here because he gives me 12 points of energy back every single second that I don't have a shield on. I equip a Blast from the Past, and of course that takes away my shield, so I'm always generating energy back. I like to equip Isa here, the prehistoric Isa, because she gives me that extra shield so I can take more damage before I lose my life in the game. The impacts from Husk get reduced by 33 points basically, which gets amplified by your level, and it's a whole mess of math that we can go about, but not needed. I like to give the Saurian Rex Jonesy here because he gives me that extra damage to my physical range attacks with my guns, so I can take down Husk with my bullets. Then I have Anti-Material Charge with Archeolo Jess here. It basically allows me to use less than 45 energy per Anti-Material Charge. I can efficiently get 4 or 5 anti-material charges before I need to wait for a little bit of energy, which means I can pickaxe his car and break it out and then go and do another 5 farm cars with my anti-material charge, no big deal. I've been messing around with Subwoofers and Berserker here so I can get more boost with my attack and, you know, more attack and stuff, because I do use this Outlander for combat. Again, you can equip things like more work, which is adding pickaxe damage if you want. You can add things like that where they give you more benefits. I like to use a farming / combat Outlander, so I give more attack in my range attack and more attack with my Teddy. All I need for farming is Archaeologist and Fossil Southie with Blast from the Past, and whatever heroes you need to power that up. Blast from the Past gives you so much health that it doesn't even feel like you can get killed in missions, especially if you're just farming on a lower level mission than the highest. There's no difference in farming in a 76 and a 140, except that a 140 you're going to get more Sunbeam and more Bright Core compared to a 76 where you might get more Shadow Shard, more Obsidian. But at the same time, you know, you can farm in the middle and still be okay. It doesn't really matter that much where you farm now. They increase the amount of material you get in places. But yeah, this is one of the must-have Outlanders to have if you're going to be farming in this game. I farm with Outlanders without the shield, the energy regen, and it takes forever. You get 2 attacks, 3 attacks if you equip the energy cost efficiency. So I do highly recommend that, you know, if you're going to keep your eyes out for a hero for farming, if farming is annoying and that's the annoying part of this game for you, to really try to get this guy when he comes around. They're gonna be bringing them around every year. Every year they're adding a thing or two to the game, but essentially what they want the game to do is it's recycling. So every year you have a chance to get everything that you've missed so far. So if you start playing the game now, 3 years later after the game launch, it's still possible for you to get everything on the events, everything on that has happened in Fortnite, all the heroes, all the stuff, because that's what Epic wants to do. They want to make it so it's a self-sustaining game that every year you can start whenever you want, and eventually you can get everything if you stay in the game constant enough and you play right. And it's definitely something, you know, that it's worth knowing what you're trying to get, because if you're starting the game and you start buying stuff out of the collection book, it takes a massive amount of time to get stuff out of here. So getting the right people out of here and getting your teams together so the game becomes easier and more manageable, it's a better choice. Again, if you like any of the heroes that I'm using, some of them you can get them, some you can't. If you go into your expansion people and your heroes, you can train them from there. You cannot get anything out of event schematics or event people, and from expansion you cannot get the Storm Kings, but everything else is open. 2 weeks to get legendary items, buying the legendary flux from the stores. So again, guys, yep. Hopefully this helps you guys a little bit to form the teams that you were looking for. Some gameplay is coming on the heroes, but not really necessary at this point. I mean, I'll just do short clips so you guys can see what each hero is capable of doing and how fast zombies are dying, and then you decide whether or not you want to have a build like that.